Why smart people still struggle with money. You graduated at the top of your class. You can solve complex problems, lead teams, and master intricate technologies. Yet, when you look at your bank account at 2 a.m., the math just doesn't add up. Why is it that some of the most brilliant minds I've ever met, surgeons, engineers, and PhDs, are living paycheck to paycheck, while the average student from high school is quietly building a fortune? Being smart is often the very thing preventing you from being rich. It's time we talk about the intellectual trap of poverty. Hi everyone, I'm Claire West. I'm a profit advisor and financial strategist. My career hasn't just been about crunching numbers in high-rise boardrooms, it's been about dissecting the psychology of wealth. I've seen millionaires lose it all and ordinary earners build empires. But more importantly, I've been where you are. I've made the mistakes I'm about to warn you about, and I've spent the last decade perfecting the frameworks to ensure my clients, and now you, don't have to learn the hard way. Today, we are exploring the uncomfortable truth: why intelligence is not a shield against financial struggle. Let's start with a narrative that hits close to home. Early in my career, I consulted for a man named David. David was a literal rocket scientist. He could calculate orbital mechanics in his sleep, but his personal finances were a chaotic mess of high-interest loans and speculative stock bets. David's problem wasn't the lack of information, it was the complexity bias. Smart people have spent their entire lives being rewarded for solving hard problems. Because of this, they subconsciously believe that the solution to wealth must also be complex. They look at simple index funds or consistent saving habits and think, that's too easy, there must be a smarter way. They over-engineer their portfolios, they try to time the market using advanced calculus, and they end up outsmarting themselves. Wealth isn't a high IQ game, it's a behavioral discipline game. While the smart person is busy analyzing the 50-year historical volatility of an obscure asset class, the disciplined person has already automated their savings and moved on with their day. David's intellect was his greatest enemy because it convinced him he was too smart to follow the boring rules of money. There is another, more painful layer to this: the professional image trap. When you are smart and successful in the eyes of society, there is an immense pressure to look the part. This is what I call the intelligence tax. If you are a high-earning professional, you feel you must drive a certain car, live in a certain zip code, and send your kids to a specific private school. I remember a breakthrough moment with a top-tier attorney I advised. She was making $400,000 a year, but had a negative net worth. She told me, "Claire, I can't show up to a client meeting in a Honda. They won't trust my legal advice if I don't look like I'm winning." This is the tragedy. Smart people often use their income to buy the symbols of wealth rather than wealth itself. They are struggling because their overhead is tied to their ego. They've built a life that requires 100% of their mental and physical energy just to maintain the facade. True wealth is invisible. It's the money that stays in the bank and works for you while you sleep. But for the smart professional, money is often just a tool to validate their status to a world that isn't even looking. Most intelligent people believe they are rational. They think, I make decisions based on data. This is a lie. Money is 10% math and 90% emotion. But because smart people believe they are rational, they are actually more vulnerable to emotional swings. When the market dips, the average investor might feel a bit of fear, but the smart investor starts theorizing. They find data to support their panic. They use their high-level cognitive abilities to justify a purely emotional reaction, selling at the bottom or buying into a bubble. I fell into this trap myself years ago. I thought I could rationalize my way out of a bad investment. I had all the spreadsheets, I had the projections. I ignored my gut and the basic reality of the situation because my intellect gave me a false sense of certainty. I lost a significant amount of capital because I was too smart to admit I was being driven by ego and fear. Intelligence creates a blind spot. You think your brain can override your biology. It can't. If you don't acknowledge that you are an emotional creature first and a logical one second, you will always struggle with money. We've all heard the term analysis paralysis, but for the highly intelligent, it is a chronic condition. In the world of finance, the cost of delay is often higher than the cost of a suboptimal decision. I see smart people spend years, literally years, researching which brokerage to use, which tax strategy is 1% more efficient, or which real estate market is perfect. While they are researching, the market is moving. The lesser intellect who just picked a decent fund and started 5 years ago is now miles ahead. Success in money requires decisive action with imperfect information. This is antithetical to how smart people are trained. In academia or high-level medicine, you need all the data before you cut. In wealth building, you need to cut, i.e., invest, and then adjust as you go. If you are waiting for the perfect financial plan, you are choosing a life of financial struggle. The perfect is the enemy of the profitable. This is a hard truth to hear. Having a high-value skill is not the same as having a high-value bank account. Smart people suffer from the labor trap. They believe because they are highly skilled, they will naturally become wealthy. They focus 100% of their energy on being a better doctor, a better programmer, or a better architect. They neglect the business of one. You can be the best heart surgeon in the world, but if you don't understand cash flow, leverage, and asset protection, you are just a high-paid laborer. I've seen experts in their field who are rich by income standards, but poor by balance sheet standards. They have no passive income, no exit strategy, and if they stopped working tomorrow, their lifestyle would vanish in 3 months. Wealth is a separate skill from your profession. You must learn the mechanics of money with the same intensity you learned your craft. If you don't, you will spend your life working for people who may be less smart than you, but understood the rules of the money game better. So, how do we break the cycle? How do we take that high IQ and actually turn it into high net worth? First, you must embrace simplicity. You need to humble yourself to the boring basics. Automation is your best friend. Take the decision-making out of your hands. If the money is gone before you can think about where to put it, you can't outsmart yourself. Second, decouple identity from consumption. Your car is not your diploma. Your house is not your resume. Start valuing your freedom fund more than your status symbols. When I stopped trying to look like a success story and started focusing on actually being one, my net worth exploded. Third, shift from labor to leverage. Start looking at every dollar as a little soldier that goes out to fight for you. Your goal isn't to work harder, it's to acquire assets that work while you're on vacation. This requires a shift from an earned income mindset to a portfolio income mindset. Being smart is a gift, but in the world of finance, it can easily become a shackle. Don't let your ability to understand complexity prevent you from achieving the simple freedom you deserve. I've spent years helping high achievers unlearn these smart habits that were keeping them broke. It's not about how much you know, it's about what you have the courage to do consistently. If you've ever felt like your bank account doesn't reflect your intelligence, you're not alone, but you don't have to stay there. Hit the subscribe button and join me as we strip away the noise and build real wealth. Comment below, what is one complex financial idea you've been overthinking lately? Let's break it down into something simple together in the comments. I'm Claire West, and remember, it's not about being the smartest person in the room, it's about being the one who owns the room. I'll see you in the next video.